Yes guys, welcome back to another Fantasy Football Fix YouTube video. My name is FPL Nacho, and in today's video we are looking at my first draft going into game week 1. With so many brilliant price points this season, I feel like I've got the perfect balance with my team, and I can't wait to show you the players that are making up this 15-man squad. So as always, if you're new around here, please do consider smashing that subscribe button ahead of the new campaign. You don't want to miss it. And of course, if you're looking forward to the video, please do drop a like. So without further ado, let's get into this first Game Week 1 team reveal. So, as I've mentioned before, this is a brilliant season this year based on the prices that FPL headquarters have allocated to the players. I think a lot of us can agree that this is one of those seasons where you can build hundreds of drafts and they can all look very, very different. Whereas in previous seasons, there very much was a template being formed during preseason. I do not see that being the case at all this year. I see people with Haaland drafts. I see them with Salah drafts. I see drafts with neither of those players in their team. A spoiler alert, at least one of those is going to be included in my draft. I do think that is important, and we will come on to that later on in this video. So to kick things off with the goalkeepers, I've currently got Robert Sanchez. Now, at the time of recording, I understand that this is a bit of a scary pick because Chelsea have, of course, signed a new goalkeeper. But there's a couple of things that I need to discuss first and foremost. One, I think if we can get the right Chelsea goalkeeper, I still think this is the best 4.5 million option. But of course, if Chelsea do bring in their new goalkeeper and he actually does go straight into the team ahead of game week 1, then there, of course, is going to be issues with Robert Sanchez's game time. That's a fact. But I always want to look at the present moment that we have in front of us. Chelsea right now have nobody else to contend with Robert Sanchez outside of Petrovic, and I do not see him taking that number 1 shirt. And because the new goalkeeper hasn't even played a single minute during pre-season, my current thought process, we might see Robert Sanchez in the opening game weeks just because he knows the league and Maresca is going to fall back on maybe just a bit of experience, knowing that his new goalkeeper, similar to what happened with Arteta during Arsenal season last year, slowly integrates to become number 1. So I don't think we're necessarily just going to have the new goalkeeper come straight in, but of course, time will tell on that one. Time recording, I still think Robert Sanchez is the best 4.5 million goalkeeper in the game, but this of course is one to monitor. If you're looking for an alternative out there, I do think Flecken is a good option. Brentford have decent opening fixtures, and in the ones that are tough, I could foresee maybe Flecken accumulating save points so that even if they do concede, which will be likely, hopefully you can at least get 1 or 2 points from multiple saves. So moving into my defence. Now, of course, this is where it splits a lot of opinion right now in the game. We've got brilliant fixtures for Arsenal in the opening 3. We've got, of course, long-term great fixtures for Liverpool. But right now, I am leaning towards this combination 3 of Konsa, Saliba and Munoz. And I want to touch on why. First and foremost, no Trent Alexander-Arnold in this draft, and you'll see why because of some of the players that I've selected in my midfield and forward line. The reason why I'm currently ignoring Trent is because I really want to build a team based on what I know right now. And I have no idea, 1, what Liverpool are going to look like, and 2, how Trent is actually going to be allocated into this team. How is he going to be used? Is he going to be a quarterback? Is he going to be an overlapping fullback? We don't really have the answers to that. And if I'm paying 7 million for a defender, I want to know exactly what I'm getting for him. If this was Jurgen Klopp, I'd be fine paying that money for Trent, but I just don't have that information right now to justify going 7 million for Trent. So Saliba is going to be the premium. Yes, I know game weeks 2, 4 and 5 are not ideal based on fixtures, but I still back them in game week 1. Wouldn't be surprised if they kept a clean sheet in game week 2 against Villa. And as I mentioned, game week 3 is fine. And I think we're all on the same cards here, where a wild card between game weeks 4 and game weeks 8 is likely going to be played. So I don't really mind investing in Arsenal, knowing that come game week 4, if they're not looking their usual selves, I can either wildcard early or simply just move away from Saliba if he truly isn't providing value, maybe to a Liverpool defender. Munoz, I'm just going off what I saw last season. Again, very small sample size, but he was fantastic for Crystal Palace last year. And I'm hoping we can see the same thing because we want a defender that offers a bit of attacking potential and some clean sheet odds. And I think Palace's Munoz does offer both. And remember, with the bonus point change of defenders actually getting penalised for every goal conceded, I think we do need to lean on these defenders that might give us that attacking potential. The third and final defender at this starting 11 is going to be Konsa, a defender that I do think will benefit from the bonus point change because bonus points for getting fouled. Konsa is one of those defenders that actually was getting fouled quite a bit last season. So hopefully that'll do really well for his bonus baseline. And Aston Villa defensively, with the addition of Onana, I'm hoping that will improve Aston Villa as an overall team. So really happy with that three. Of course, we will touch on the bench players at the end of this draft to give you a bit of an idea on what I'm planning with rotation over the opening game weeks, because that is going to be really important, how we rotate those goalkeepers. Now, moving into the midfielders, and first and foremost, if you are enjoying this team reveal, make sure you do head over to fantasyfootballfix.com. Link is in the bio where you can check out all of the elite team manager reveals. There are some incredible managers who have had consistent top 1k and 5k finishes, and they are showing their teams exclusive to Fantasy Football Fix. So do check it out. Link is in the bio. I, for one, have been taking a lot of advice off those top managers. So moving into my own midfield here, we have gone for quite a standard combination of Eze, Salah captaincy, Gordon and Rodgers. So first up, a touch on Eze. I think the Crystal Palace fixtures aren't incredible, but I think Eze is the perfect example of if Palace are going to do well in those opening fixtures, he is going to be at the absolute heartbeat of everything, being the talisman in that Palace team. And also, even though they've lost Elise and Mateta's gone to the Olympics, I still think this manager is going to get the best out of them from an attacking perspective. We saw that in the second half of last year, how he came in, put his philosophy in, and really the players did react positively to that. So I love Eze right now, but of course, in the middle of a potential transfer to another team, we do need to monitor that, because if that one is on the edge, he isn't a consideration for our game week 1 teams. Mo Salah is going to be in. Now, the big question is Erling Haaland in this team? And of course, stay tuned for that, because that is going to be a big decision for anybody this season. But Mo Salah for me is the definition of FPL GOAT, but uncertainty with what we are getting. As I mentioned, this is similar to Trent. If this was a Jurgen Klopp team, Salah is in, no questions asked. Ipswich away in game week 1, Brentford at home. Then, of course, we have really good long-term fixtures for Liverpool. I think Mo Salah, I need to see a little bit in pre-season just to understand he is one of the front two or one of the wingers that is going to actually come in field and break the lines. If we are seeing that, I think Mo Salah is unbelievable value. But the only problem with him is if he is there to maybe be a creator for this Liverpool team, then I don't think he's worth it at 12.5. But right now, he is in the team. Gordon, I don't think we need to overthink it. Southampton at home, followed by the opening fixtures, are really solid. Consistent returner last season. And I think with Eddie Howe, we always know we are going to get an attacking front-footed Newcastle team. So I want a piece of Gordon at 7.5 million. The only concerns that I do have is potentially a fully fit Harvey Barnes. I'm not saying that's going to take the minutes away from Gordon in terms of starting, but it might see Gordon change from a 90-minute man maybe to a 70, 75-minute man. And that could put his value in question with the likes of Rashford and Martinelli at 0.5 million cheaper. Finally, Rodgers is in the team, and of course there is a big midfielder on my bench that we will come on to in a minute, but I think Rodgers is offering great value at 5 million. Unai Emery has said really good things about him. Aston Villa in general I do back, but of course we need to take into account Champions League football, which might slightly dictate the minutes of particular players, so of course we do need to acknowledge that. Moving into the forwards, similar to Robert Sanchez, I do need to address João Pedro in this team. There is a lot of uncertainty right now about whether he will start game week 1 because of his injury. It's worth noting, Brighton have actually hit the ground running during pre-season. João Pedro at 5.5 million. I think this is incredible value, I really do. And if he is going to be available for Brighton come game week 1, I think his ownership will skyrocket once again. But at the time of recording, even though he's in my first draft, this is definitely one of the players that I'm looking to potentially take out. And if I was to do so, there's a few different directions that I can go with, but I'll cover that off once I've shown you the bench to get a full understanding of who exactly is in my team. Alexander Isak comes in as the second forward. I think this is essential. I think 8.5 million is ridiculous value for any player of the caliber of Alexander Isak. Great opening fixtures, guaranteed game time, especially with the injury to Callum Wilson, on penalties, and importantly, a clinical finisher. His XG was around 21, 20.5 last season, and he actually scored exactly that. So he is the definition of FPL value in terms of the forwards, and I can't really imagine anybody going without him. And finally, Erling Haaland. Of course, you can see here, I've gone for the Salah-Haaland combination. When I was building my draft, I think there are phenomenal options in midfield. And of course, if I was to avoid Erling Haaland, straight away I'm saving myself a minimum of £6 million, which is massive. And that could be pushed into the midfielders. And I do get the temptation to do that. However, with recent quotes from Pep suggesting that Phil Foden won't be available for the Community Shield alongside Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne, that says to me that we might get a slow integration for Foden into this City team. With Chelsea away, who I think defensively are going to be really poor this season, and Ipswich at home in game week 2, I think those are two brilliant fixtures. And if I don't bring Haaland into my team, where am I getting that coverage of the Man City attack and that exposure where they could go off in either game? And I don't really see it right now. We could take a punt on Jack Grealish, we could go to Oscar Bob, but I think we are just going for a very, very cheap alternative to one of the best players in the game. So I'd rather just cover my back, bring Erling Haaland in, and if we see a poor Man City or a poor Haaland, then we can look to downgrade from the most expensive forward in the game to any other forward in the game, and then utilise that money and invest in the midfield. I just feel quite scared going without Erling Haaland for those opening 2 games, knowing that I can't get to him if I want to. So that is the current starting 11 coming into game week 1. Let me show you the bench. So there isn't really any 4 million goalkeeper in the game. However, I will say this. I think right now, even though I have Turner in my team, Fabianski is probably the better 4 million goalkeeper, just because there are some rumours about Areola maybe going to Saudi last minute. So we might see Fabianski come back in as number 1. But of course, that all depends on any sort of transfers for Areola. I really wanted to include this here because Nkunku is on my first bench here. And that is a big, big player in this team. This is a player that will start every other week, barring game week 1, just because I do value the Man City defence so highly. But Nkunku is in this team and he likely will be starting ahead of Rodgers each and every game week. We got Robinson in for Fulham. I don't really know how Fulham are going to react in this season because of the absence of Paulinho, so we need to monitor that. But I think Robinson is the perfect balance of great fixtures, rotates well with the other players, attacking potential, and should be decent on the bonus points, especially with his shot volume. So really do like Robinson as a bit of a differential and a rotating player with the other defenders that I currently have in my team. And finally, Harwood Bellis at 4 million, the most owned 4 million defender. But with the passing few days we've seen in pre-season, I do think Brighton's Barco is emerging as a great option. The reason why Harwood Bellis is currently in is because game week 2, he actually has a really favourable fixture at home against Nottingham Forest. And I do like having that option if I need it for my team in game week 2. I think he might offer more playing value than Barco. But I do think right now, if one player was going to be skyrocketed to 4.3 million in the opening game weeks, it probably will be Brighton's Barco. So that is my current first draft right now. You can see here, I am using a lot of my money, a quarter of the budget, towards Mo Salah and Erling Haaland. But the more I build my drafts, the more I think to myself, I feel way more comfortable going for the 2 premiums in each position, knowing that if I've got it wrong, I can simply downgrade both of those or one of those to the next best player in the game. And I just think it's quite a scary prospect going without Erling Haaland for Chelsea away and Ipswich at home. So that is the current team. Definitely a few changes still need to be made. I think João Pedro is the big concern. That could come down to a 4.5 million. And maybe I change the structure of the team where I allocate the 1 million to improve someone like a Rodgers to a 6 million, or I upgrade that to Hudson-Odoi at Nottingham Forest. That could be a great alternative as well for my team. But please do let me know in the comment section, what are your thoughts on my current first draft? And of course, what are your current team plans? We'll be sure to answer all of the questions in the comment section. And as I mentioned, if you enjoyed my team reveal, make sure you do head over to fantasyfootballfix.com and check out those elite managers, team reveals. That is the exclusive place to check them out. And I, for one, have been looking at every single managers to get a little bit of insight on the best players to pick up. So make sure you do check that out. Link is in the bio. That just leaves me to say, have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Cheers.